Good evening. Welcome to WSBI, your resource for success podcast program, where you get to meet inspiring women-owned businesses from across the country. And now, for your host, Kimberly McElmore.
Hello, and welcome to another night of sharing. With us, we have Dhylles Victoria, founder of Event and Media Marketing Management and author of Your Life, Your Purpose, No Explanations. Welcome, Dhylles.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much, and Happy New Year.
And Happy New Year to you, too. I mean, I'm excited. This is 2018. You are my first recording for the new year.
Awesome. Yes, totally awesome.
Yeah, really great. So I'm sure that you have a lot to share because you have had a lot of things going on around you. But before we dive into some of those other questions, why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about yourself?
My name is Dhylles Victoria. I am 40. I'll be 41 in about a month and 4 months, February 6th, 1977. Woohoo, Bob Marley. Love him, Philly. It's my birthday twin. Originally from New York, I actually just moved to Savannah, Georgia on December 22nd of last year. So my 2018 began when I took a leap of faith and just jumped into Savannah, Georgia. I really don't know too many people here, but I'm building community. And that's what life is about, right? Just jumping into things into the unknown. And I'm the type of person that live fearless in my fears. I do media marketing and social media management as well as event marketing. And my clients just range from a diverse group of beautiful womenpreneurs who are eclectic and different. And what I do is I create outside of the box opportunities for my clients, as well as just coach them along the way whenever they're feeling stuck or they're frustrated, or if I need to talk them off the ledge, so to speak, then I'll also do that. Okay. And just make sure that they are completely different and doing things that are not of the norm within their industries.
Okay. All right. So we learned a whole lot about you in less than 5 minutes. So we're gonna backtrack just a little bit here. We're just gonna keep going back just a little bit. So I definitely hear the New Yorker in you, and I was so surprised when you're like, "Hey, I'm leaving New York and I'm heading to Savannah, Georgia." I'm like, "Wow, that is a huge difference in transition, night and day." So tell me a little bit about why you decided to move to Savannah.
Well, I was talking to such a client back in August, and I was still living in New York, and I was just like, hey, to give me a little bit of information about Savannah. And she started telling me about the history of Savannah, how it was historic, and it was just very peaceful, and just my heart was just like, oh my goodness, this is a place that I want to visit. So I set out to visit Savannah in October of last year for Halloween and Pride. And I came down and I loved it. And my partner, she was with me, and we just had an amazing time. And by the third day, I knew every street. I knew where everything was, like I lived here. So that was an indication for me that this is home.
Right. So
I went back to New York and I started doing researching, and I met someone here who actually is a New Yorker he moved here about 3 years ago. And he just started giving me information and started looking for apartments for me. And that's how I ended up in Savannah. Got an apartment and got everything going.
Yeah, that was a quick transition. That was very quick. Yeah, but like they say, if you know, you know. And I think that's awesome. But it's like I said, it was such a huge difference between the two entities and the areas. I'm like, wow. And then, of course, like you said, to take that leap of faith. I mean, that's pretty awesome for you to walk away from an area and a community that you have been involved with, I'm sure, for many years, and have built yourself from the ground level up, and then here you are starting almost all over again. So that's very interesting. But I want to ask you, what inspired you to get into the business that you're in? Now you're doing event and media marketing management. So tell me a little bit how this process works with you. Now I know that I've absolutely had the, having a great opportunity of meeting you, and then I'm going to be meeting a lot of your clients too down here in the near future. So explain to me what you do.
What I do is when I have clients and they have businesses, depending on what the business is, I actually help them create the story within who they are and why they started their business in the first place, and actually consistently break down the mission of what they're doing with their lives personally and how to incorporate it with their business professionally. So me being a certified life coach and motivational speaker, it comes in hand with being a social media marketing consultant or media marketing or event marketing, because at times clients feel stuck. And so if you're not a life coach or anyone that deals with like therapy or counseling or so on and so forth, if a client is being stuck, you wouldn't know how to help them where their business is concerned. And I base it off of just my life experiences and things that I've been through within my business that I share with my clients to give them motivation and just empower them to say like, hey, it's okay. I know where you've been. I know where you're going. I've been there too. So it gives them a sense of calm and peace. And it also helps boost their confidence in their business. And I always tell my clients, you know what, share your story, whatever you've been through. Right. You know, you're going from tragedy to triumph. Share that, because that's where your potential clients or your clients are going to come in, because people want to know that you're relatable. People want to know that you understand, and people want to know that you're not perfect and you go through stuff too. Exactly. Because as public figures, we tend to not unintentionally, but we tend to give off this type of vibe where our confidence exudes so much power that people seem to think that we have it all together, we have it all figured out, and as a matter of fact, we're perfectly imperfect, just like everyone else. So when you share your story and you give a little bit of yourself to the public and you just let them know where you've been and where you're going, where you come from, it gives them a sense of ease, and the intimidation decreases, where they're like, okay, cool, I can work with this person because this person is just like me. And that's what I offer to my clients, for them to just be human and to evoke emotions and feelings into other people, and make that client feel like they're the most important person in that room or space at that time. And any message that they're giving on social media or any message that they're giving on their website or within their business itself, that it speaks to the person and the person feels like you're telling their story.
Right, exactly. And I like that concept. I love what you do. And that's the reason why I love doing this show, is that it gives women the opportunity to share their experiences, and it allows people to realize that they are human. Because I always talk about just what you said, that, you know, people, when they see us, and sometimes, like you said, we do it unintentionally to ourselves, that people think that when they see it, all they see is a shell. Nothing is wrong. That everything in our lives are perfect. And, oh, you know, look at them. You know, they've made it, you know, not understanding some of the pain that you go through, you know, the painful process of trying to be that business owner and climbing that mountain, because, you know, they're not there sharing that journey. They only see the end result of the journey. And even then, it's not perfect. Right. You know, and even then it's not perfect. But, you know, people just see the good side of it. And that's why I think it's really important that, like you said, that we all share our stories, and there's always somebody out there who can relate. And then they realize that what they're doing is that it's okay. You know, it almost gives them permission to continue to move forward with their dream. So I think it's awesome. So, but what inspired you to implement this piece within your business? Because, you know, a lot of times when people talk about event and, you know, media marketing, you know, they're very basic when it comes to, oh, well, you know, we got the social media platforms that we use, you know, everybody uses them now, and that seems to be the main way. But what made you decide to implement some of these pieces? What inspired you to start the business and so forth?
I would have to say when I was 16 years old, I was pretty much the person that everyone would go to where it came to planning parties or events, or just being a person someone wanted to confide in. So I've been doing this my entire life, but I didn't realize I was doing this type of work until like I found myself at 34 years old. Wow. And I realized that, you know, through all the abuse and trials and tribulations and things that I've been through or that I put myself through, it took me to a different level and space in my life where I knew that I was a leader, and I stepped into my power, and I knew that I was here to help people as a healer, which way that was. And I know that I loved event planning. I loved social media. I love media marketing. So I just decided to incorporate everything into one thing where I'm able to coach and heal and help and give messages, but also incorporate it in business. So it's personal, but it's also business for me. So I've been doing it for a very, very long time. I just had to learn the science of how to just incorporate everything together into one entity and just make it work that way. And that's what sets me apart from everyone else that's in my industry.
Right. I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that, because I've definitely come across a lot of people who do what you do, but I think your personalness is what makes it special. And like you said, you can give them the insight because you've been there and you're living it. You're doing it every day. And a lot of people, when they're in this industry, it's all about just making the money and making the numbers work. Oh, well, even if we get this numbers, everybody's going to come and see give you the likes. Okay, well, that's great, but where's the business? So,
right. And to me, it's about like asking questions, and I always create pain points for my clients because, I always ask them, like, you have to take yourself out of the equation as the business owner, and you have to put yourself in the seat of the client or the consumer. Would you buy your product? Would you like your services? Do you feel like your service and your business has the utmost integrity? Like, those are the questions you have to ask yourself as a business owner when you're trying to get the clientele that you need and you want for long-term longevity and success. So you have to take yourself out of the equation at times. And that's one thing that I offer them, like, take yourself out of the equation. I ask them thought-provoking questions for them to say, damn, like, I didn't think about that, and it's a different perspective. So I give them different angles and options of what to look at where their business is concerned, and how to create something amazing and beautiful that's also tangible and beneficial that someone would always want where their services and their business and their products is concerned.
Yeah, and then that's true. I mean, and that's the hardest part, because we all know as business owners, we look at the fact that, hey, we can do it better than somebody else. That's the reason why we are in business. And, a lot of times we do forget that, okay, it's not about just you. It is absolutely about your consumers. It's about your customers. And, when you're in the beginning, I know I've seen and watched myself go through this process for the last year and a half or so, that trying to figure out, okay, how do I convey this to where people understand what it is I'm trying to give to them? And, and still I go through that process because I want to make sure that it's not just about me, it's about you. And this is what I'm here to provide. What can I do for you to make your world better? What can we provide as an organization to ensure that, the resources are being given to you that you need? So it's definitely, I like your concept, because you do make people think. And that's the hardest part about being a business owner, because we feel like we are thinking all the time, but we're not thinking in the aspect that we sometimes should be or need to be. And I think it's always important to have that person on the outside looking in to give us those openings. And that's exactly what you do. So tell me though, I mean, you've been in the business, I read a little bit about you, and you've been doing this for about 15 years. So talk to me a little bit about the challenges that you've gone through in this business.
I've had to revamp my business hundreds of times to the point where it's just like, what am I doing? And, just giving up and like going back to the drawing board and trying to figure it all out and see what works from what doesn't work, and, the failures and not making enough money and, wanting to like just throw in the towel and just something dragged me back to it. It's like, no, we need to finish this. You are a go-getter. You're driven. You're resilient. You know that you got this, and you're great enough to do this. So it's just that chatter in the head and creating stories in my head, and what I can't do from what I couldn't do, because I started out with as a life coach, and I got my certification and doing motivational speaking. But the one-on-ones wasn't happening the way that I would have liked it to, and so many people weren't ready for that. So I had to like flip it in a way that, oh my goodness, let me work with people that are business oriented, who are aspiring entrepreneurs or aspiring business owners, or business owners who are just in the beginning stages of their business, because they need coaching and they need someone who is creative and ready to just take them to that next level and just be outside the box and create these amazing opportunities. And once I flipped it to that direction, everything started trickling like crazy, like ridiculous. And I think the challenge with that too is making sure that I am connecting with the right clientele, because not everybody's your client.
Right.
And that's the hard part about what I do too, because of my nurturing spirit and just being so caring and so loving, I want to help everybody and their mama, but you can't do that at times. Right.
Well, yeah, and then you starve on top of it too.
Yes,
when
you starve
help,
on top of that.
Right.
Right. And at times your service, or my service rather, may not be something that is for the person that I'm working with. So there were times where I had clients fire me, or there are times where I had to fire a client because it just wasn't the right fit, or there was something that wasn't working. And the thing about it is too, and this is something that I had to learn, where there's a difference between media marketing and social media management and event marketing. versus sales strategy. So a lot of times when clients, when they come to you for, or come to me rather for social media or media marketing, I have to sit down and explain to them, like, I'm not here to increase sales for you. I'm not here to increase productivity. I'm just giving you different ways of creating options for your business. You are the brand of your business. You have to be the one to be the spokesperson to sell yourself and pitch yourself in such a way. Like, I can create the content for you. That's fine. But I am not a sales strategist. I'm not going to say, okay, well, you'll have X amount of money by the end of this month or end of this time. You have to put in that part of the work. That's on you.
Right. I agree with that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
So a lot of times, it's kind of like a misconception because you do social media and media marketing and event marketing that the money is going to trickle in. It may. I'm not going to say it's not. But at the same time, as a client, you definitely have to put in the work and the time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier, that there's a lot of organizations out here saying, hey, we can get your likes up. We can do this for you. We can guarantee you that, and of course you're going to want to try it because you do want people to come and look. But the key is like, what happens after they look, and see what you're about. And you're absolutely right that you have to be the person to sell your brand, your image, why should people want to come to you? And that's important. It is very important. And that's probably the hardest part that I've even learned being in business, because, being in the social media world was something that we didn't have to do 20 years ago. It wasn't that important. It was like, nope, you walked out, you talked to people, you shook hands, you did the everyday normal things, you didn't have to worry about how many likes you're going to get, or had to pop on Instagram and Twitter. I was like, it's been a huge lesson for me last year of understanding how to use a social media platform. And of course, my 29-year-old son had to teach me that because I was like,
I got to do what? My 24-year-old brother was trying to teach me Snapchat. I was like, I don't get this teeny bopper millennial thing that you guys do. Like, I don't need to know that you're eating spaghetti at 3 p.m. or whatever you're doing. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? So I totally understand.
Yeah. So it's definitely been a journey. And I think that, what you provide to your clients, I think it's phenomenal. And it's a great way to look at it from the inside out versus the outside in, because you're taking it from the inside to make them see what can happen as they continue to grow. So I think that's a really great aspect of what you're doing. Okay, great. Thank you. And so I'm sorry.
I tell clients too that, you can have so many likes and shares and views and people can follow you all day long. But if nobody's inboxing you or emailing you about your services and your packages and your products, then it's just like, it's a waste of time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a waste of time. And so many times, you can have 10,000 likes and 5,000 shares, but if no one's interested in your product or no one's knocking on your door to say, okay, you were so impactful with your Facebook Live, or, you were so impactful with your post or your service or your product or whatever it was that you were presenting that day, and I want to know about it, then to me, sometimes it's just a waste of time because you're just wasting space, in other words.
Right.
So it's definitely making sure that the product is so effective and so powerful and impactful that they're going to want to hit you up and inbox you or call you or email you.
I agree with that. Absolutely. Yep, it seems like it takes one thing to wake people up. I think I found this very, very interesting that when you say that you have author behind your name, it's like everybody like all of a sudden is like, oh, I want to talk to that person. I'm like, well, I'm the same person that you knew before the book came out. So, but it just amazes me, with that reaction, because for whatever reason, people feel that you're solidified, that you are the person who knows everything when you become an author. So I think that's really interesting concept. But since I'm talking about that, tell me a little bit about your book.
My book, Your Life, Your Purpose, No Explanations. I wrote it back in 2013. I had an awakening when I went to Puerto Rico, and I had a vision that I was going to meet an old woman who is my guardian angel, and she was going to tell me things about my life. So I went to Puerto Rico, and the day before I left, I went to a museum for the first leader, who was a woman in Puerto Rico. Her name was Dona Fela. And her spirit spoke to me so strongly. She was for the people. She was just an open-hearted, open-minded woman where, you know, she pretty much empowered everyone, encouraged everyone, fed the orphans and fed the homeless and things like that. And her spirit was so strong in me that I was in a museum crying like I just lost my mama. That's how emotional I was. And the tour guide was just like, hey, you know, the message from her is for you to go back and write and for you to tell your story and for you to help people figure out what life looks like for them. So I came back to New York and I started writing my book. It went from a sentence to a paragraph into full-blown chapters, and that's how it came up with Your Life, Your Purpose, No Explanations. And the book is just based on no longer holding yourself back, no longer people-pleasing. I have a chapter called The Art of Saying No, where, you know, don't feel guilty about saying no. No is not a bad word, especially when it comes to your sanity and just making yourself a priority and not allowing other people to, you know, make you feel bad or brainwash you into thinking that that word no is bad because of their own gain or their own intention. Mm-hmm. And also in the book, I dedicate specific chapters to specific people who's helped me in my time of need or vulnerability within that chapter. And I also ask thought-provoking questions within the book. So it's a book for self-help and empowerment, but it's also a workbook and also a book of gratitude.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I definitely have to get a copy of that because I've always wondered. I love the title, so I was wondering what it was truly about. So that's a very interesting concept. I love how you implemented how people, you know, assisted you and helped you along the way when you really needed them. So that's important too. That, like I said, it's another part of sharing your story and people understanding your journey. And I think that's right. a beautiful piece that you provided. So tell me though, you know, and we all know it's a new year and so forth. And I'm not one who particularly cares for resolutions because 90% of the time when people do resolutions, they never seem to stick with them because they really don't understand what a goal really means and what it means to be on your grind 24/7. But if you had to give some advice to any person who decided they would want to open up a business, what advice would you give them?
Research, do a lot of research and find a mentor within that industry to help you along the way, to guide you, to teach you things that you may not even know about. Make sure that you know what it takes financially to run your business, what it takes mentally, psychologically, spiritually to run your business, but also be vulnerable in asking for help. And the things that you don't know, seek help about those things because we're not going to know everything in business, but at least if we try to find out more about what the industry is about or what is entailed in the industry, then I think you would have succeeded so much more than when you're trying to do it by yourself. I don't think anybody can do anything by themselves where business is concerned. There always has to be another person involved that's going to give you a helping hand or, you know, just hold you accountable in the process at the same time. And just be don't be afraid, just jump. Just if the business is calling you and if it's something that's weighing on your heart every single day and in your mind, you have to allow yourself permission to allow that dream to become your reality and put it into fruition, into the universe. And don't be afraid to fail. Like I said, with my business, I had to go back to the drawing board 100 times over in order for me to get it right. And it's just not giving up and just staying the course and just being determined to know that it's going to work out. And just take all the little failures and the mistakes and just turn them into lessons and messages that you put forth into the business moving forward.
All right. Yep. Well, that is very well said and absolutely correct, you know, when it comes to business, and great advice because, you know, I think a lot of people, they're still standing on the fence. You know, they sit on the fence every year talking about, oh, I'm going to do this, and they never do. And a big part of it, I do believe, is usually the resources. It's really trying to figure out, you know, you can find them now, but it's so overwhelming. And that is one of the things that I love about what I try to provide in the organization with WSBI is that, you know, having all of you as members, it's very important that you're providing resources. You're having an opportunity to connect and communicate with each other in a way that you may not have been able to do before because you're constantly trying to reach out to those people who are either doing something similar to what you're doing or you're just trying to communicate in a way that, hey, I've got a business here and this is what I can offer. So having those connections, not being afraid to leap and knowing those resources are available, it's an important aspect, but you're definitely right. You know, it's just you got to get out there and do your research, and that's the hardest part. Most people don't want to take the time to do the research, and next thing you know, they got a business. Next thing you know, they're out of business because they didn't take the time to, take it step by step. It's no different than crawling and then, walking and then running, So I think it's important. And even when you're in business, as you said, you're not going to get it all right the first time. It's going to take you many times to get it right. So
and it's about community and not competition. And not everyone that's in your industry, in the same industry as you, is your competition. I mean, we should be able to support each other and share ideas and share knowledge and share experiences with one another in our industries, and not downplaying the other person or devaluing what that person has to offer, because you just never know.
Exactly.
And I mean, just in life, it's experiences that you go through and experiences that another person goes through that can teach you or mentor you or coach you or train you or however the case may be. But it's just being open and willing to the process of asking for help.
Right. That's right. Absolutely. Well, on that note, then can you tell listeners how they can get a hold of you? So if they need some help, they can find you.
Definitely. You can always shoot me an email, info@dhylles.com, DHYLLES.com. Website is dhylles.com. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm not too keen on Snapchat, not as yet. I will get there in due time. I need to have Snapchat 101. But everything is Dhylles, DHYLLES. I'm the only Dhylles that's on Facebook or anywhere around the world.
Yes, I agree.
So I should be. I mean, it's so funny because like I call T-Mobile or any of the organizations that I deal with or anything like that, or companies that I deal with, and they're like, so what's your email address? I'm like, Dhylles@gmail, info@Dhylles. They're like, wow, this name is unusual. I've never heard of it before. I'm like, thank you. So. Right.
You absolutely stand out, because I asked you the same question. I'm like, what did you say? How do you say your name? So yes.
Yeah, I get that so much, and it's so funny because my little brothers tease me all the time. Like I call them, but like, hi Dhylles, hey Dhylles, hi Felice, hi Felice, hi Dhylles. I'm like, you know what? Whatever, get out of here. So I'm always being teased with my name, but I've grown to love my name as I got older. When I was younger, I couldn't stand it. I'm like, just call me Victoria or Vicky. That's my nickname, or D or something like Dhylles. I'm like, what, mommy? Why would you? What the hell is a Dhylles? Like, what is that? You know what I'm saying? But now,
what was you thinking, right?
Right. Right. But now that I'm older, it's like, I embrace the name. It's very, it's different and original and unique, just like myself. So my name actually definitely defines who I am as a person, and I absolutely now I love it. Before I was just why, but now it's like, yes, I am Dhylles. So it's wonderful.
Yeah, it definitely stands out, and it absolutely works with your brand. I'm like, yeah, that is a great name, because you never forget it. Even if you don't know how to pronounce it, you never forget what it looks like. So I'm like, that is awesome. But anyway, I want to say thank you for coming on tonight. Do you have any last words for the listeners?
Just live in your legacy instead of leaving a legacy. Do things now. Today, it's your time. We know our birthday. We don't know our death date. And until that point, you are to live life to the fullest, and however you see fit, however happiness comes to you, whatever peace looks like to you, do that. And just live fearless in your fears and just take a leap of faith, because you just never know. And never allow opportunities to pass you by, because you don't want to be on your deathbed or in a nursing home torturing yourself with shoulda, coulda, woulda, and you didn't.
That's right. Absolutely. Alrighty. Again, like I said, thank you for coming on tonight and sharing your story with us. For everyone else, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Good night, everyone. We will be back next Thursday evening at 7 p.m. Follow us on Spreaker, www.spreaker.com/user/WSBI. View our new WSBI website anytime at www.wsbillc.com and on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram.